I'm here to give you a rundown on how bad Kamala Harris's CNN town hall really was. Because if you know anything about Democratic politics, you know that people like former Obama advisor David Axelrod is a guy who, quite literally, in a sense, has gone through more brooms than any sort of maintenance worker ever. Because he sweeps it up for the Democrats no matter what scandal, no matter what they do wrong. He always is there with a new change of clothes after they just have a disaster, okay? Now, here's the thing. David Axelrod is even saying himself that Harris went to Word Salad City at the CNN town hall, which makes you think, okay, well, if a shill like David Axelrod is throwing Kamala under the bus and being honest for once, it's got to tell you it does not bode well for her campaign. And there might be some math to this. In fact, people like David Axelrod on the payroll of these big elite Democratic firms or whatever you call it, guess what? They have access typically to the internal polls. Internal polls being different from what everybody in the, plebeians such as myself get access to, okay? You see what's on the internet, we Google it. But they know certain internal polling that is supposed to be confidential, likely because it's bad news for Kamala. Now, even looking at the public polling, look at this, baby. Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris head to head. Kamala is only up by 0.2%. 0.2% in the popular vote. It's virtually tied, bro. This is insane. Remember, Kamala has been leading Trump by an average of about 2 percentage points for months throughout the summer. Now it's narrowed. I mean, every video I make day after day, the lead gets smaller and smaller. Kamala has lost about 0.6 to 0.9% of her support in the past 5 days, I think. I mean, this is crazy. When has Trump ever been close to tying in the popular vote? Ever in 10 years. Now, also look at this. This day, on October 24th of 2020, Biden was up by 8.1 over Trump. And obviously, Clinton was up by 5.5. So Kamala is undershooting everybody. Look how narrow this graph is getting. But let's get into the news. Well, let's not overlook this part of the news, okay? First and foremost, look at the most recent polls. They have Trump winning by 3, 2, 2, 3. Okay, that's a phenomenal result. Even from a Republican pollster last election cycle, if you told me Trafalgar or Rasmussen had Trump winning the popular vote, I would have been like, what the hell? But these are liberal pollsters, baby. Listen to these reports. First is Rasmussen, so that's not surprising. But here is the shocker. Forbes, Harris X, which is super liberal insofar as their history of polling Donald Trump. CNBC has Trump winning by 2% in the popular vote. And the Wall Street Journal has Trump up by 3, which is insane. This can mean one of maybe three things, okay? First, it's that Trump is just closing the gap and that he's just somehow convincing voters and that's how it works. Two is that actually the polls have been looking like this for a while for Kamala's camp, and they knew, but the liberals themselves were like, oh, it's September, it's August, Kamala, even if she is losing to Trump right now in our real polls, we're going to keep pumping out fake ones and keep skewing the results and manipulating them as if Kamala's up by 3, like when she had her little sugar high, and now it's rotting, and the gums and the teeth are having cavities, okay? So, I mean, that's the analogy here, because what I think happened is that they knew the polls were not accurate, but they kept on putting them out kind of to feed a false sense of security for Democrats. And then now that there's less than 2 weeks, the people that are actually relying on being somewhat accurate with this election results so they stay paid as pundits, as pollsters, now they have to actually correct it. And so it's a gaslight they're doing, and they're reversing it too to save themselves. It's hard to explain, but basically they falsely, let's say, put out that, she's leading by 2, 5, 3, 4, and then all of a sudden, when Trump they know is gonna win, they go, actually, Trump is just barely winning. And then when the election comes around and Trump wins by a lot, they'll be like, well, we said he was going to win, so we're not biased. And it's like, well, I was alive for the preceding 100 days. And in fact, I was alive for the past 8 years of awful polling. But point taken there. Remember, the provided context, okay? You're Kamala Harris. You're going to CNN, which again has been an unpaid sweeper, fixer-upper, a Swiffer really, for the campaign. And like I said, for free, completely biased, completely in her pocket. And also, you have Anderson Cooper, who himself is also basically the Sean Hannity, if you were to reverse the scenario. So it's like if Trump were to go to Fox News, Sean Hannity's interviewing him. And of course, there's going to be some softballs. I'll grant that, okay? I'm biased. I can acknowledge that if Trump were to do one with Sean Hannity, it'd be pretty soft. That being said, though, there's still some real questions. Now, believe it or not, she takes an L on this question despite it being something that I would have to deal with as like a high schooler. And I'm talking about your first job interview at a grocery store or anything. The basic question is so surprising and she still screws it up.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
Have you ever made a mistake ever? This is where you go like, well, actually I did this, but then I grew or something, but okay.
I mean, I've made many mistakes. And they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues. And
Ooh, dude, she is suffering. She's melting. First and foremost, I don't know if maybe I need a girl to sit next to me just for this sort of thing. But when it comes to her fashion sense, and again, I'm not beating the gay allegations, but it's so true that this needs to be questioned, at least to me. The shoulder pads. First of all, I get it. Some girls need to wear shoulder pads, I guess, like in a masculine frame as to then kind of like, oh, take me serious. But it's like, dude, you're 5'4". You're not intimidating anybody. So maybe you should just give up the pretense. And then also, like, her neck looks so small. It looks amorphous. It looks off. I mean, imagine if my shoulders were like this. It's kind of... Anyway.
Issues. I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well-versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
What was that condescending little, B-word thing she just did? Like, compelled to answer a question. Aren't you supposed to be a prosecutor? Notice how she did decades, I assume, of work, saying like, oh, throwing people behind bars, questioning them on illegalities and felonies. But as soon as she gets a fucking softball that, again, any other 16-year-old working at a McDonald's that she never did, by the way, has to deal with, like, for example, have you made a mistake? How'd you learn from it? She can't even do that. She can't even answer that without being condescending at the end. And again, you're answering to Anderson Cooper. It's not like you're being questioned by Trump Jr. or some shit. Come on. You even have the panel with, I forgot what the guy's name is, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash. Let's
what
see
I'm
what they
hearing
say.
from people who I've been talking to, and that is that if her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that. And, some people have asked, is she being held to a different standard? Maybe. But that's maybe the world that she's living in. And on the question of who she is, people are understanding that a little bit more. But what she will do, the question about her legislative priorities, name one. There wasn't one.
Yikes, buddy. Again, these are people that are paid implicitly to shill and protect.
I think that the word salad stuff gets on my nerves. I think that some of the evasions are not necessary. But when she's talking about trying to get you a house, I believe her.
Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris participated in a one-person debate.
Really? That's the best you could do? For the future president, presumably. I believe her.
She's talking about trying to get you a house. I believe her. Mm-hmm.
Dude, you literally said, okay, first of all, he came off super gay saying that, which there's no problem with, by the way. They're good. No, okay. Whatever. I'm kidding. I have serious problems with the way he said it. Anyway, listen up, folks. Van Jones sounds like a naive, battered housewife, metaphorically. He's not cheating on me. I love him. That's Van Jones. I believe her. What the fuck, dude?
I believe her.
Mm-hmm. Bro, if you could grow hair, it'd be colored green. It'd be looking like a Skittle. Come on, are you kidding me? That should be a clip, bros.
I believe her.
Mm-hmm. Bruh.
I believe her.
I believe her. Even with the head nod. Buddy, Van Jones, Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris participated in a one-person debate last night, and she lost. Okay, she was asked direct questions, and she provided very circular answers. My colleagues Van Jones and David Axelrod and others noted that she provided word salad answers. And, Anderson would ask her specifically direct questions, and she didn't provide an answer to them. When asked, Anderson asked the best question all night. Why didn't you do this 4 years ago? Why haven't you been doing this? 10-minute answer, didn't answer the question. So what she did last night, I don't think helped her cause at all. I think people were looking for, how are you? You heard the one woman. How are you going to make my life better? That wasn't provided. Donald Trump bad is not going to get you to the White House. I hate to break it to her.
When she
yeah, Donald Trump bad and nothing else sounds kind of like Hillary Clinton. Just that Kamala is somehow like the DEI Hillary Clinton, because at least with Hillary, she got with Bill Clinton in college, I think, so at least you could pretend like it was not a political thing. And she was a lawyer herself, and she did do certain things. She was a senator at some point, and Kamala, again, a lot of the same things, was an attorney, went to law school, a worse one than Hillary, if I recall. didn't marry a guy her own age like Hillary with Bill. No, instead she got with a guy that was, what was it, 30, 40 years older than her. Didn't even get a ring out of that, but instead got a lot of cushy jobs and a connection into San Francisco politics. Not to get into too much of a tangent, but yeah, DEI Hillary Clinton is not going to win, buddy. Alrighty, folks. And just to wrap it up, let's do one of these very, very cozy clips. Harris's CNN town hall in 1 minute, baby. Okay, good. Because I cannot sit through the whole thing. Call me a procrastinator, but also call me a guy with ears. And frankly, I don't want to listen to her for any longer than I have to. So let's just bear with us.
Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Donald Trump should be.
Buddy, that's a loaded term. You can't just say that and be like, okay. A guy who's running for a Democratic office. He's a actually, it's like, what? What? I mean, this is the equivalent of saying, is Brad, it's like Brad Pitt is a homosexual. It's like, well, all the proof tends to point to the opposite. And so you would have to just rely on hearsay and a lack of evidence, frankly. And so that's the same thing with Trump. Like, oh, he said something complimentary, allegedly, about Hitler's generals, which, again, is not even a controversial thing. I think this is just predating on the common American's lack of understanding of World War II, for instance. But yeah, obviously, if Hitler had, let's say, 100 generals, were like 15 of them really impressive. Well, no, because he was winning the war at the beginning. So yeah, clearly he had to have some good personnel. Does that have a value judgment attached to it? No, of course not. But of course, Kamala, both in a combination of not knowing better herself and just predating on people's ignorance, will run with that line.
Be here tonight to talk with you and answer your questions. He's not. He refused to come. The enemies with.
He refused to come? That might be a common thread, Kamala.
He's talking about the American people.
Do you believe you would be more pro-Israel than Donald Trump?
I believe that Donald Trump is dangerous, far too.
What? What? What kind of answer is that, bro? Just say yes or something. Say yes or no, but say it confidently. Will you be stronger on Israel than Donald Trump? Yes, Anderson, and in fact, I think it's disgusting for the former president to do X and Y, and I would seek to do X, Z, and blah, blah, blah. Do that, buddy.
Many innocent Palestinian civilians have been killed. It's unconscionable. And we are now at a place where with Sinwar's death, I do believe we have an opportunity to end this war.
Do you pray every day?
I do pray every day. I do pray every day, sometimes twice a day.
Yikes. That doesn't sound like oh, I pray twice a day, my mom's going through something. No, it's I'm such a weak person. I need a crutch. Like, I'm in the motorcade and I'm like, please God, let me win. Please. I've been on my knees too long. Not for you, but for Willie Brown. I need something.
My administration will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring to this role my own ideas and my own experience. I love fixing problems. And so I pledge to you to be a president who not only works for all Americans, but works on getting stuff done. And that means
why is she every little gesticulation and everything is so condescending? Like, get stuff done. They should teach women in politics. And again, this is a bad clip for Lalo, but guess what? I'm standing by it. They need to teach women in politics, especially Democrats. Do not act like a substitute teacher ever, buddy. Do not act like a second grade math teacher or something. Please, for the love of God. Like, to answer to something, get things done. Like, frankly, like, you need to do your homework, Timmy, please. Like, don't talk like that. I get it. She's from SoCal, almost San Fran, close enough, worse even. And she went to high school in Montreal. So, I mean, it's not a good cocktail to really get any good taste from when you're, having this sort of horrible stuff from her mouth here. So annoying.
On getting stuff done. And that means compromise.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a...
Wait. Let me stand vindicated on this.
Be a president who not only works for all Americans, but works on getting stuff done.
Done? Please, buddy. That is disgusting. But with my face taking up most of your screen right now, I'm glad to tell you that the torture is now over. We have, at the same time, updated you on the news, covered that awful CNN town hall, saw enough of the Kamala thing to say that we watched it, but also not enough to melt our brains, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So I'm very pleased with myself, and if you're pleased with the video, like the video, comment down below any sort of input you want, and I'll put some response. And guess what? Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.